It's finally time. I know you've all been waiting anxiously for it. We're talking about Yanagi. What do you mean I forgot to do Bernice? Don't worry about it. We're talking about Yanagi. Yeah, we're talking about Yanagi. Let's go. Yeah, this is Yai and Raiden's love child. Yanagi is an on-field electric anomaly DPS character. She has a dual stance mechanic and gets bonus damage from disorder being triggered. Now, that's a bit complicated. Let's break it down a little bit. Let's talk about her dual stances. Kagen and Jolgen, aka waxing and waning, but in Japanese. The moon puns are strong with this one. Get used to it. Here we are. Kagen and Jolgen are her two stances. You could also refer to them as upper string, lower string, waxing or waning, yada, 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 yada. She swaps between the two stances with the use of her special attack, EX special attack, or assist follow-up. So while in the stance, she has different attack animations. The stances each have a separate buff, but as long as you are switching between them, you'll be able to maintain both buffs. One of the stances gives electro damage bonus, the other one gives 10% pen. These used to be a lot more different, now they're very similar, but the lower stance, or Jolgen, is technically better, the stance that gives her pen. This is technically the stance that you want to be in more often than not, just because it has higher numbers. That's it. It's a really fancy mechanic, but you're going to be switching between the two of them, or you'll be switching to maintain one of the stances, since some of her actions will automatically switch the stance. And by switching, you'll be re-upping buffs. She has a electric anomaly build-up rate increase after switching stances for the next 6 seconds, which means you'll want to keep that up at all times. You call them ba and boom. So yeah, that's actually pretty simple. Let's talk about something a bit more complicated, which is her polarity disorder. Polarity disorder, and actually, let me say polarity disorder and lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipse is a damage bonus that is applied to every disorder that is procced while Yanagi is in the team. That's a little complicated, but essentially it's whenever disorder is triggered, Yanagi does half of an assault on top of the disorder. It gets added together as one number, but it's effectively half of an assault added to each disorder proc. So that is what Yanagi does for disorder. Additionally, she has a mechanic called polarity disorder. Polarity disorder is a bonus attack that is attached to her EX special. When her EX special hits an enemy, it triggers polarity disorder. Polarity disorder is a disorder without disorder. So it will trigger disorder damage, it will trigger lunar eclipse, but it will not remove the anomaly that is currently on the enemy. This does 18% of the damage that the disorder would do normally before lunar eclipse is applied. Lunar eclipse will be applied after and get the full value, which is really, really good. Effectively, this makes Yanagi's teams much more flexible than they otherwise would be, because she can access all of the disorder-centric parts of her kit and damage without being played in a dedicated disorder team. The dedicated disorder teams should be better anyway, but it's a big deal just to give her team options when players don't have a bunch of characters already. Not everyone has Bernice. So yeah, that is the big deal about polarity disorder and lunar eclipse. What is the trigger conditional for her additional ability? Her additional ability is any electric agent or anomaly agent in the party. This is gonna be mandatory. You get the drill by now. All the characters have been like this. Just make sure you always have it active. Like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna try to do more Zenless content. More Genshin content is coming. Did you know most of you watching are not currently subscribed? You should subscribe. What is Yanagi's skill priority? It's her basic attack above all else, then her special, then her assist, and her dodge, and her chain. Now, Yanagi is an on-fielder, so you're gonna wanna level her skills at least a bit for the daze damage, but yes, technically it's not a major part of the damage contribution because she is an anomaly character and she will not be building crit, and you still level it for days. And something is always better than nothing. Let's talk about full rotation stuff. So Yanagi's kit revolves around, or technically has a basic attack 1 and a basic attack 2 that are fizz damage that you want to avoid. Thankfully, you can fully avoid it. Her EX special puts her in a stance that just doesn't do basic attack 1 or basic attack 2. Her combos get truncated to basic attack 3, 4, 5. and that will just be able to loop. She also starts at basic attack 3 after dodge counter, after assist follow-up, after quick assist, and after chain attack. So it's effectively, and after special. So after every action, she'll always be shortcutting to N3. So she'll do N3 to N5, or basic attack 3 to basic attack 5. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to be referring to this as N3 out of habit. Just be aware of that. It might come up, it might not. So what this is generally gonna look like in most cases is you're gonna either EX or defensive assist in, and then you're gonna do two normal strings after that. So you're gonna, 1 or 2 normal strings after that, I should say. So you're gonna proc shock and build up your next shock ahead of time. And by doing that, you've set yourself up and had all your stats snapshotted for the anomaly. But yeah, that is how you're going to play Yanagi. You're gonna proc shock and then build up your next shock without triggering it, so you can immediately pop disorders and get all that sweet damage. Let's talk about engines. Hey, have you ever seen a guide for an anomaly character? Believe it or not, the same 4 engine options are in fact still good. Fusion Compiler, Electro Lip Gloss, Weeping Gemini, and Rainforest Gourmet, in that order. Better than all of them is Time Weaver. Time Weaver will be on banner with Yanagi. It is her S-rank engine. The thing about Time Weaver is that it's very similar to Sharpened Stinger for Jane, in the sense that it is the only engine option available for Yanagi that gives build-up rate. The usage or the damage gain from the build-up rate is subject to change and can vary a lot, but it should always be good and very comfortable. Time Weaver also gives a 25% disorder damage bonus. This is multiplicative, so any of the damage that is disordered will do an extra 25% damage. I actually also want to point out Fusion Compiler, because Fusion Compiler is a bit better than it normally is on characters. Essentially, Fusion Compiler is an engine that's balanced around how few characters use their non-EX special attacks. Yanagi can and will use her non-EX special attack to activate her stance swap mechanic to re-up for the buffs for herself. Yeah, Fusion Compiler is actually good at this time. Is it as good as her S-rank engine? No. Is it better than the A-rank engines? Yes. Yes, it is. So Fusion Compiler, very solid option. If you have it, it's great. Drive discs. I have a hot take. Because of how Anomaly works, it snapshots the stats of the attacks that built up the Anomaly. Because of this, I would like to try to take advantage of Thunder Metal. It might be a pain to play, but it's also like 18% better than any other set option. So I want to mention it. Because Thunder Metal is technically the best set in the game stats-wise. It just has a difficult conditional. So at first glance, Thunder Metal should really only be recommended for teams without disorder, so Monoshock. This is, however, not entirely true because of how Anomaly damage is calculated and built up. If you set up like 1.9 anomalies with your first Yanagi field time, you will be able to reap the full benefits of Thunder Metal on essentially every shock proc after the first. So it'll look like this. You'll have your shock prepped, so when you start on fielding Yanagi to activate your disorder, she will automatically pop the disorder and she will spend her field time building up the next anomaly proc while the enemy is still shocked. You can do this to take advantage of Thunder Metal. I think Thunder Metal is a really good set. This playstyle may not work out, it may be too complicated, but I think the set is good enough for me to be recommending it anyway. Just because Thunder Metal is such a good set. Give it a try. Let me know how you find it when Yanagi is released. I will certainly be trying it myself, and I will certainly be talking about it in a first impression video. I wanted to mention it now ahead of time. The set that most people will be using instead is Chaos Jazz. Chaos Jazz is really simple. If you've been playing Bernice, you already know about this set. You've already farmed for it. In Yanagi's case, it gives 15 electric damage bonus, and it gives 20 EX special damage bonus. A lot of Yanagi's app is in her EX special attack, so a large amount of the shock is getting the benefit from this. So that's great. It's not as much stat as some other sets, but it's easy to play. It's consistent. and it will definitely be very popular. Let's also talk about the more offbeat options that should be equally as good. This is Woodpecker Electro. Yeah, the set that gives crit rate. It also gives a bunch of attack, which is really useful for Yanagi, and her other set options don't seem to stand out that much. In aggressive content, it can perform very well because you'll be getting the whole 3-stack benefit. That's not really going to happen. It's more likely going to be 1 or 2 stacks. Hopefully 2 stacks, but one will happen. Let's just face reality. It's not going to be amazing, but it'll definitely work if you have it. It's a pretty efficient set to get from the tuner. It's truly remarkable. Please stop talking, lady. I don't care. Please, you're driving me insane. I just want to manage my drive discs. Please stop telling me garbage is remarkable. Please. The voices. Ah! Anyway, another set that's really nice to get from the drive disc lady or farming for Jane is Hormone Punk. Hormone Punk is a worse thunder metal with a downtime conditional instead of a anomaly conditional. This will be good if you're killing enemies quickly, as in 1 or 2 shock proc or 1 or 2 disorder procs. This set can lose efficiency or lose proficiency, I guess, when you start to lose control over when it's procced and when it's on downtime. This is just unfortunately just going to happen over extended encounters. If you are speedrunning content and one-shotting content, you're not going to notice it being an issue. But the longer your encounters are, the more consistent the set will be, and you'll notice the difference. Main stats. She's an anomaly character. Deja Vu. Anomaly proficiency, anomaly mastery. Big shocker, I know. Slot 5 options are electric, attack, and pen. Pen and electric are technically the 2 better ones, but you can definitely use attack. It's all good. It's all the same stuff. Interchangeable subs, yada yada, dubiouses, or whatever. What? You know. If you know, you know. Let's talk about teams real quick. A lot of Yanagi's teams are going to be disorder-centered. What does disorder-centered mean? It means you're going to play Bernice. I don't make up the rules. That's just how it is, okay? Look, she's the only character who does what she does. You can use Jane. Bernice is going to be better. It'd be like that sometimes. Can Yanagi, Bernice, Jane work? Definitely. I might not recommend it above other options, but you can definitely do it. So let's start out 3 limited characters. Yeah, I know it's expensive. If you've been playing this patch, you've probably already seen it. It's really good for Jane anyway, so you can directly replace Jane with Yanagi, and the team actually should be better. We'll see. I highly suspect Yanagi to be much better than Jane in these teams, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't want to jump the gun on that comparison, but I highly suspect it. We'll see. You'll find out more in my day 1 impression video for her. It'll be coming. So Yanagi, Bernice, Caesar, Yanagi, Jane, Caesar, Yanagi, Bernice, Rina, Yanagi, Bernice, Lucy, Yanagi, Bernice, Seth, Yanagi, Bernice, Lighter, Yanagi, Rina, Caesar. You get the idea. If you did not want to play a disorder-focused team, you can play a shock-focused team, much like how you can play a burn-focused team for Bernice instead of a disorder team for Bernice, and it's still more than good enough and better than a lot of alternative options that might be available to you. You can absolutely do that with Yanagi because she can disorder without disorder. This also makes sure that Thunder Metal is her best set in those teams, and you are getting the full benefit. So what do I mean by that? I mean Yanagi, Rina, Caesar. Rina buffs shock damage, which in turn, or buffs shock duration, which in turn buffs Yanagi's polarity disorder damage. So there's some synergy there. It should work out. It should be fine. It'll be cool. But yeah, you can absolutely play Yanagi in a shock team. Even though it runs counter to her kit, they put the synergy into her kit to allow her to play these teams. They're more than good enough. Just like how the Bernice burn teams are more than good enough. Did you see that it's been largely accepted that crit Bernice DPS is better than Soldier 11 in the same teams? Cinema. Standard characters are so bad in this game. Let me know in the comments if you want to see a standard banner character takedown video, because I will make one. I will make one if people ask. I think it's easy to make. Alright, let's quickly brush over Mindscape Cinema levels. Mindscape Cinema level 1 is 80 anomaly proficiency Gigachad. Mindscape Cinema 2 is 15 anomaly build-up rate Gigachad. And the polarity Disorder base changes to 30%. 3 is skill levels, which don't do anything. 4 is 16% pen. 5 is skill levels, which don't do anything. M6 is 35 damage percent Giga Chad. Oh, also, every time she triggers Polarity Disorder, it triggers 4 times. Cool. Those are Mindscape Cinema levels. She's a really good character. Yanagi should be really strong. If you like Jane, you'll like Yanagi. The gameplay and the teams are very similar. She is an electric character. She is the first limited electric character. So if you wanted to pull a character to cover electric weakness, this is the one. Or this is the current option. Let me quickly mention this. I'm a little tired of every character being anomaly and stun. How many of these do we need? Can we please get some variety? Where are the crit DPSs? It's kind of really weird. There hasn't been a crit DPS since 1.0. What is going on? It's kind of wild. Weird. I don't know.